Hi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Listen, let me tell you something real. Whining has never put food on anybody's table. Whining never got nobody a job, never built a business, never put a dream in motion. All whining does is keep you exactly where you are, stuck in the same mess you're complaining about. You can whine all day about how unfair life is, how tough your circumstances are, how everybody else got it easier than you, but at the end of the day, when you're done whining, guess what? Nothing changed. Not one bill got paid. Not one door opened. Not one opportunity showed up just because you sat there talking about how hard it is. Whining is like rocking in a rocking chair. You moving, but you ain't going nowhere. See, life don't respond to whining. Life responds to work, to faith, to determination. You got two choices every single day when you wake up. You can whine about where you are, or you can work toward where you want to be. And the crazy thing is, the energy it takes to sit around complaining about everything, you could have used that same energy to actually change something. You could have read that book, made that phone call, filled out that application, prayed that prayer, wrote down that vision, or started that little business you keep talking about. But nah, some folks would rather just keep whining, hoping that somehow complaining will magically change their life. I know. Let me tell you from experience, every time I sat around whining about what I didn't have, I was wasting precious time I could have been using to go get it. You want a new job? Stop whining about your boss and go update your resume. You want more money? Stop whining about being broke and go figure out a side hustle. Go learn a skill. Go put yourself in position. You want your dream to come true? Stop whining about how hard it is and start taking one step, even if it's small. Action is the only thing that moves you forward. Whining just keeps you standing still while life passes you by. You know what whining really is? It's a comfort zone. It's a safe little bubble where you get to blame everything and everybody else without ever taking responsibility. It feels good in the moment because it makes you the victim. And when you're the victim, you don't have to do nothing. You don't have to try, don't have to risk, don't have to fail, don't have to face rejection. You just get to sit there and say, that's why I can't win. Win. That's why I can't move forward. But let me break it to you. Whining won't change the fact that life is still moving. Opportunities are still passing, and somebody else out there who stopped whining and started working is getting the very thing you sitting around crying about. Every winner you see today had plenty of reasons to whine. They had setbacks, disappointments, heartbreaks, struggles. But instead of sitting there talking about how hard it was, they decided to do something about it. Winners know that complaining doesn't pay the bills, but action does. Does, has, and does. Whining won't heal your pain, but taking steps toward your dream will give you purpose. Whining won't put gas in your tank, but grinding will. Every excuse you make is just one more day you're delaying your blessing. Every time you whine, you're pushing your breakthrough further down the road. I had to learn this the hard way. Back when I was broke, sleeping in my car, I could have whined every day. I could have sat there and cried about how unfair life was, how nothing ever went my way. And trust me, I wanted to. But the moment I realized whining wasn't getting me out that car, I shifted. I started putting myself on stages, even if it was just 5 people in the crowd. I started hustling, taking every little gig I could because I knew whining wasn't going to put me in front of the right people, but working would. And slowly, step by step, things started changing. Not because I whined, but because I worked. You got to stop thinking life owes you something because you're hurting, because you're tired, because it's not fair. Life don't hand out blessings because you whine loud enough. Life rewards the ones who stand up, shake off the excuses, and get to moving. You want to stop hurting? Get moving. You want to stop being broke? Get moving. You want to stop feeling stuck? Get moving. The more you sit there and whine, the deeper you sink. The moment you get up and act, that's when change starts happening. Here's the truth. Nobody's coming to rescue you because you whined enough. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you to the point of changing your life. People got their own problems, their own struggles, their own lives to live. If you want something different, you're going to have to make it happen. You're going to have to cut the whining short and turn that energy into action. Because whining never changes your situation. Action does. Life is already hard, man. That's just the truth. Nobody gets a free pass. Nobody gets to skip the struggle. You can be rich, broke, famous, unknown. It don't matter. Life gonna hit you. Bills don't stop coming because you tired. Problems don't skip your address because you a good person. Challenges don't say, "Oh, he already had a rough week. Let's leave him alone." No, life gonna test you, and you know what makes it worse? Complaining. Because when you complain, you're not just carrying the weight of the problem, you're carrying the weight of your words. You make the burden double heavy. Think about it. Every time you sit there and complain, you're adding more negativity to a situation that's already tough. If you broke and you complain about being broke, now you broke and depressed. If you tired and you complain about being tired, now you tired and defeated. Complaining doesn't lighten the load, it makes it heavier. You ever notice how people who complain all the time seem drained, miserable, just stuck? That's because complaining is an energy thief. It robs you of the very strength you need to fight through what you're going through. Life is tough, but complaining is like pouring salt on an open wound. You're making it hurt more than it already does. And listen, everybody gets tempted to complain, including me. I've had plenty of days where I wanted to throw my hands up and say, "Oh man, this ain't fair. Why me? Why do I gotta go through all this?" But I realized something. Complaining wasn't paying no bills, wasn't moving me forward, wasn't opening no doors. The problem was still there after I finished crying about it. The only thing that changed was my attitude, and not for the better. See, life is already going to test your patience, your faith, your strength. Complaining just tells life, "You won, I give up." And the minute you start living in that energy, you stop fighting, you stop pushing, you stop believing. That's how dreams die, not because people weren't good enough, but because they complained themselves out of the fight. They talk themselves into staying stuck. I want you to catch this. Life gets tougher when you complain because you shift your focus to the problem instead of the solution. You get blinded by what's wrong, so you can't even see what could go right. Complainers spend more time describing their pain than working on their progress. They'd rather talk about how bad the storm is instead of building a boat to survive it. You can't sail complaining, you can only sink. I'll give you an example. When I was struggling as a young comic, I had every reason to complain. I wasn't making no money, wasn't getting no calls, wasn't catching no breaks. I could have sat around with my buddies talking about how unfair it was. But I knew complaining wasn't going to get me booked. So instead of whining, I kept working on my jokes, kept knocking on doors, kept putting myself out there. And because I chose to work instead of complain, eventually somebody noticed me. See, the opportunity always comes, but you gotta be in position to catch it. Complaining takes you out of position. You gotta understand the universe don't reward whining, it rewards resilience. The people who keep going when it's hard, the ones who smile through the struggle, the ones who take the hit and keep moving forward, that's who life blesses. You can cry about your circumstances or you can change them, but you can't do both at the same time. Complaining keeps your hands busy holding on to the pain, so you got no grip left to grab the blessing. And let me tell you, the reason some folks never see change is because they think complaining is harmless. They think, "I'm just venting, I'm just venting, I'm just letting it out." But words have power. You keep saying, "I'm broke, I'm tired, I can't do it, life's unfair." And guess what? You start believing it. You train your mind to see only struggle. And once your mind is locked into that negativity, your life starts following that same path. You don't rise higher than your words, higher than your words. If you keep speaking defeat, you'll live in defeat. Complaining is like planting seeds of failure in your own soil. Life is tough, no doubt, but you know what makes it easier? Gratitude, action, faith, choosing to see the possibility instead of just the problem. The load don't feel as heavy when you carry it with purpose. The storm don't feel as long when you know it's leading to sunshine. Complaining magnifies the pain, but gratitude shrinks it. Complaining blocks your blessings, but faith unlocks them. Complaining drains your strength, but action builds it back. So the next time life hits you, and trust me, it will, don't waste your breath on complaining. Use that breath to pray, to plan, to push, to praise. Life is tough, but your words can either make it tougher, or make you tougher, or make you tougher. And I promise you, choosing toughness over complaining is the difference between staying stuck and stepping into your blessing. You know what separates people who keep losing from people who finally start winning? It's mindset. The way you think about your problems determines whether you stay stuck in them or find your way out. See, most folks wake up every day with their eyes glued to what's wrong in their life. They rehearse it, they talk about it, they carry it everywhere they go. We ain't got no money. My job sucks. My relationship is broken. My health is bad. And because they only see problems, they can't see possibilities. They're blind to opportunities that are right in front of them. I had to learn this the hard way. Back in my early days, man, I was going through it. I didn't have steady money coming in. I was struggling to get gigs, and sometimes I didn't even know where my next meal was coming from. And I'll be honest with you, at first I was angry. I was mad at life, mad at God, mad at the world. I kept asking, why me? Why is everything so hard for me? That mindset had me stuck. I couldn't even recognize when a small opportunity showed up because all I was focused on was how bad it was. Then one day it hit me. What if instead of staring at the problems, I looked for the possibilities? What if I stopped asking a why me and started asking a what now? That little shift changed everything. See, when you focus on the problem, all you do is magnify it. It grows in your head until it feels 10 times bigger than it really is. But when you focus on possibilities, your brain starts looking for solutions, starts looking for doors, starts creating a way. Most people don't realize the power of shifting your focus. You can be in the worst situation of your life, but if you train yourself to see possibility, you'll find a way out. Think about people who grew up in poverty, came from broken homes, had every reason to give up. The ones who made it weren't the ones who kept crying about how hard it was. Phew. The ones who made it were the ones who said, okay, I know what I don't have. Now let me see what I can do with what I do have. That's mindset. That's shifting from problems to possibilities. When you focus on possibilities, you unlock creativity. You start seeing things you never saw before. Maybe you don't have money to start the big business you dream about, but what if you could start small? Maybe you don't have the degree you think you need, but what if your gift is strong enough to open doors anyway? Maybe you don't know the right people right now, but what if you keep showing up until the right person notices you? That's possibility thinking. The truth is, your problem isn't always the problem. Your perspective is. Two people can go through the exact same situation. One will drown in it, the other will use it as a stepping stone. The difference is mindset. One keeps staring at the wall, the other starts looking for a door. And guess what? The door was there the whole time. It was just hidden by the way they were thinking. I'll tell you something about life. It always gives you both problems and possibilities. Both are present at the same time. But whichever one you choose to focus on, that's the one that grows. If you feed the problem with your words, your thoughts, your attention, it'll consume you. If you feed the possibility with your energy, your faith, your action, it'll expand and lead you to your breakthrough. I remember being told and no this so many times in the comedy business. No after no after no. If I focused only on the rejection, I would have quit. I would have convinced myself I wasn't good enough, that it wasn't meant for me. But I started seeing every no as possibility. Every rejection meant I was one step closer to the right yes. Every closed door meant there had to be another door somewhere else. That perspective is what kept me going. And eventually that yes came, but I would have never reached it if I stayed stuck in problem thinking. You got to stop letting problems define you. Stop telling yourself the story of how hard it is, how unfair it is, how impossible it is. Start telling yourself the story of what's possible. Start saying, yeah, it's tough, but I know there's a way. Yeah, I don't have everything I need, but I got enough to start, to know. Yeah, it looks bad right now, but I believe it can get better. When you do that, you shift your whole energy. You attract solutions instead of more problems. You inspire yourself to move instead of staying paralyzed. Life is always going to throw challenges at you. That's guaranteed. But if you can train yourself to see possibilities inside those challenges, you become unstoppable. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating progress with what you got. You stop crying about the storm and start building a boat. You stop whining about the mountain and start climbing about the mountain and start climbing. At the end of the day, it's not the problem that holds you back. It's the way you think about it. Shift your mindset and you'll shift your life. Excuses and success don't live in the same house. You can't hold on to excuses and expect to hold success in the same hand. Let me tell you something. Excuses will keep you broke. Excuses will keep you average. Excuses will keep you stuck in the same place year after year. Discipline, though, discipline is the ticket. Discipline is the bridge that takes you from dreaming about it to actually living it. Excuses are easy, discipline is hard, but discipline is where the reward is. See, excuses always sound good in the moment. I'm too tired, I don't have enough money, I don't know the right people, it's too late to start. You start piling them up until you've built yourself a nice little wall that blocks you from your blessing. And while you're sitting behind that wall of excuses, somebody else out there with less than you, less talent, less money, less support, they're winning. You know why? Because they decided discipline was more powerful than an excuse. Excuses are like comfort food for the soul. They make you feel good for a minute because they take the pressure off. They give you a reason not to try, not to risk, not to step out. But the problem is, excuses don't change nothing. You can feed yourself excuses all day long and still wake up tomorrow with the same problems. You can't cash an excuse at the bank. You can't pay your bills with excuses. You can't turn an excuse into a legacy. Discipline, though, is different. Discipline don't care how you feel in the moment. Discipline don't care if you're tired, if it's inconvenient, if it's uncomfortable. Discipline says, do it anyway. Discipline says, stick to the plan. Discipline says, I don't care what it looks like. We gonna show up. We gonna put the work in. And when you stack that up day after day, that's how you build wealth. That's how you build dreams. That's how you build a life that's bigger than your excuses. I'll be honest with you, man. There were times in my life when I lived off excuses. I'd say I can't make it because I didn't grow up with money. I can't get on stage because nobody knows me. I can't move forward because the odds are against me. And you know what all those excuses gave me? Nothing. Nothing but more pain, more struggle, more wasted time. The day my life started turning around was the day I stopped excusing myself and started disciplining myself. Excuses don't require sacrifice, but discipline does. Excuses don't require commitment, but discipline does. Excuses don't require you to face rejection, but discipline does. Excuses keep you comfortable, but discipline makes you grow. And the truth is, growth always feels uncomfortable. That's why people run back to excuses. They'd rather feel good now than succeed later. But success is never a feel-good now game. It's always delayed gratification. You pay up front with discipline, then you collect later with freedom, with abundance, with victory. Think about athletes. Think about entrepreneurs. Think about anybody who's ever made it to the top of their game. They didn't get there because they had the best excuses. They got there because they had the best discipline. They got up when they didn't feel like it. They trained when they were tired. They studied when they wanted to sleep. They pushed when it hurt. And because they did what most people won't do, they're living a life most people can only dream of. Excuses feel good today, but leave you with regret tomorrow. Discipline feels tough today, but gives you freedom tomorrow. You got to ask yourself, what kind of tomorrow do you want? Do you want a tomorrow filled with ifs and I could have been? Could have been? Or do you want a tomorrow filled with, I'm glad I did it, I'm glad I pushed, I'm glad I stayed the course? Discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The first time you say no to your excuses, it'll be hard. The first time you get up early when you don't feel like it, it'll be tough. But every time you choose discipline over excuses, you're training yourself to win. You're rewiring your brain, you're building your habits, you're setting yourself up for success that lasts. I want you to remember this. Excuses keep you broke. They keep you living paycheck to paycheck. They keep you stuck in the same circle. They keep you chasing your tail. But discipline makes you rich. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about being rich in peace, rich in opportunities, rich in freedom, rich in joy. Excuses will rob you of all of that. Discipline will hand it to you. At some point, you got to decide which one you're going to serve. You can't keep serving excuses and expect to dine with success. You got to break up with your excuses and marry your discipline. Because excuses will lie to you, cheat you, and leave you with nothing. But discipline will never betray you. Discipline will always pay you back. So stop feeding your excuses and start feeding your discipline. Working does, and life works the same way. Your blessing grows when you take action. So the next time you feel like whining, stop yourself. Catch it. Say, oh, wait a minute. I could either sit here and talk about how bad it is, or I could stand up and take a step toward making it better. That one little decision could change your whole life, because whining is wasted breath, but action is the start of transformation. Let me tell you, your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your excuses, your complaints, your whining. But you got to get up and move to meet it. Don't let your future slip through your fingers because you too busy rehearsing your past. Don't let your blessing pass you by because you too caught up crying about the burden. The weight will only lift when you move. The door will only open when you knock. The breakthrough will only come when you stop whining and start winning. Here's the thing about winners. They don't waste time crying over setbacks. They're too busy searching for solutions. That's the real difference between people who make it and people who don't. Everybody gets hit with problems, losers and winners alike. But while losers sit around talking about what went wrong, winners say, all right, it happened. Now, how do I fix it? How do I move forward? What's the solution? Winners don't have time to drown in self-pity because they know the clock is ticking and opportunity won't wait. See, setbacks are part of the game. You can't get to success without tripping, falling, failing, and facing rejection. That's not optional, that's guaranteed. The test ain't whether you fall. The test is whether you get up and start working on the solution. A loser looks at a setback and says, well, that's it. I guess it wasn't meant to be. But a winner looks at the same situation and says, okay, I learned something. That didn't work, but maybe this will. Let's try again. That's the difference. You ever notice how some people can go through the same hardship but come out completely different? One person goes through a bad breakup and they swear off love forever. Another person goes through a bad breakup, learns from it, and ends up building a stronger relationship later. Same storm, two different outcomes. Why? Because one focused on the setback, the other focused on the solution. When you focus on setbacks, you freeze. You stay stuck in the moment of pain. You replay it in your mind like a broken record. And every time you replay it, you relive it. You don't grow, you don't move, you don't change. But when you focus on solutions, you unlock possibility. You start asking better questions. Instead of saying, why did this happen to me? You start saying, oh, what can I learn from this? How can I make sure I don't repeat it? Where can I go from here? And the moment you ask better questions, you start getting better answers. I've had setbacks that could have taken me out. Times when I bombed on stage, times when I didn't get the job, times when the door was slammed in my face. If I would have sat there whining about the rejection, I would have never seen the next opportunity. But I decided to ask, what did I do wrong? How can I do it better? Where do I need to improve? That mindset turned my setbacks into setups for something greater, because every solution I found made me sharper, stronger, more prepared. Winners see setbacks as temporary. They don't treat them like the end, they treat them like a bend in the road. It's just a curve, not a conclusion. And because they see it that way, they keep moving. They don't sit down on the curve, they drive through it. That's how they reach the destination. Losers, though, park at the curve and say, oh, well, I guess this is as far as I go. And the saddest part, the destination was just around the bend. They gave up too soon. Here's something I've learned. When you focus on solutions, you stay in control. You can't always control the problem, but you can always control how you respond. And your response is what determines your outcome. Winners know that life will hit them with unexpected punches, but they also know they got the power to adjust, to adapt, to overcome. That's why they don't get paralyzed by setbacks. They let the setback teach them, then they move on. And think about inventors, entrepreneurs, athletes, anybody who's ever done something big. They all faced setbacks. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before the light bulb worked. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah got fired from her first TV job. Imagine if they had focused only on the setback. Imagine if they had said, oh, well, I guess that's it for me. We wouldn't even know their names today. They became who they are because they kept focusing on the solution, not the setback. And let me tell you, the devil loves when you focus on setbacks, because as long as you're focused on what went wrong, you're not moving toward what can go right. As long as you're crying about the door that closed, you can't see the window God opened. But the moment you shift your focus, the moment you say, okay, this hurt, but it won't stop me. That's when you step into your power. Life is never going to be problem free. You're always going to have obstacles, delays, disappointments, but if you develop the mindset of a winner, if you train yourself to immediately look for solutions, you'll never stay down for long. You might fall, but you won't stay fallen. You might lose today, but you'll win tomorrow. Because winners don't let the setback have the last word, they let the solution speak louder. So stop giving your setbacks all the attention. Stop rehearsing the pain. Stop replaying the loss. Start asking, what's the solution? What's the next move? How do I turn this around? Turn this around. That's the mindset that separates winners from whiners. And if you adopt it, you'll start winning too. Gratitude and hard work will always beat whining and laziness every single time. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how much potential you got. If you spend your days complaining and being lazy, you will watch other people live the life you keep dreaming about. But when you mix gratitude with hard work, that combination right there is unstoppable. That's the fuel that takes you from where you are to where you want to be. See, a lot of people think success is about luck. They think somebody just got a break, somebody just got lucky, somebody was in the right place at the right time. And yeah, sometimes timing plays a role, but the truth is, most of the folks you see winning out here ain't running on luck. They running on gratitude and hard work. They woke up thankful for what they had, and then they put in the grind to get what they didn't have. Gratitude is powerful because it shifts your whole perspective. Instead of whining about what's missing, you start appreciating what's present. And when you appreciate what you got, God trusts you with more. You sitting around whining about not having a new car, but you don't even wash the one you drive now. You whining about not having a bigger house, but you don't even take care of the apartment you got. You whining about not having more opportunities, but you're not even showing up grateful for the ones you already had. Gratitude says, a thank you for this little, and I'll work it like it's a lot. And when you work the little you got, more will come. Now, add hard work to that, because gratitude without work is just words. You can be thankful all day long, but if you don't put in the effort, nothing changes. Hard work is what brings the gratitude to life. Hard work says, I'm grateful for this chance, so I'm going to show up and give it everything I got. Hard work says, I might not be where I want to be yet, but I'm not going to stop until I get there. Hard work turns gratitude into results. I've seen lazy folks with incredible talent lose every opportunity handed to them simply because they didn't want to grind. And I've seen average people with no special skills, no fancy background, no big name, win big just because they were grateful and willing to outwork everybody. That's the difference. Whining and laziness make you miss your blessing. Gratitude and hard work position you to receive it. Let me give you a real example. When I was sleeping in my car, I had every reason to whine. I could have been bitter, could have been mad at the world, could have sat around doing nothing. But even in that low place, I had gratitude. I thanked God that I still had a dream, that I still had a gift, that I could still make people laugh. And I worked that gift. I drove anywhere I could to do a set, no matter how small. I didn't wait on perfect conditions. I worked with what I had. That combination, gratitude for the gift and hard work to use it, is what took me from broke to blessed. Lazy people don't understand this. They want success without sacrifice. Like, they want blessings without effort. They want the reward without the grind. And when they don't get it, they whine. They blame life, they blame God, they blame everybody but themselves. But the truth is, success ain't hiding from you. Success is waiting on you to show up with the right attitude and the right work ethic. Gratitude keeps you humble. Hard work keeps you hungry. Put those two together and you unstoppable. Because when you're humble, you don't feel entitled, you're thankful. And when you're hungry, you don't get lazy. You keep grinding. That's how you outlast everybody who quits halfway. That's how you keep going when others fall off. That's how you separate yourself from the crowd. And listen, gratitude and hard work don't just bring you material success. They also bring peace. Because when you're grateful, you don't live in constant frustration. You don't feel like the world owes you something. You live lighter, freer, and when you're working hard, you don't have time to sit around in misery. You're too busy building, too busy growing, too busy winning. Whining and laziness, on the other hand, bring stress. They keep you stuck. They make you bitter. They rob you of joy. So stop whining about what you don't have. Be grateful for what you do have. Stop being lazy, waiting for life to drop something in your lap. Get up and put in the work. Gratitude and hard work. That's the recipe. That's the formula. That's the difference maker. And if you live by it, you won't just start winning. You'll keep winning. Stop crying about the storm. Learn how to dance in the rain. That right there will change your whole life if you let it. Because storms are coming whether you like it or not. Struggles, disappointments, losses, ain't none of us getting through this life storm free. You can't pray storms away. You can't hide from them, and you can't whine them out of existence. The question is not a will the storm come? The question is a what you gonna do when it does. Most people, when the storm hits, they fall apart. They whine, they cry, they sit in the corner talking about how unfair life is. They keep asking, why me? Why now? Why this? And while they stuck whining, the storm just keeps on raging. See, storms don't stop because you complain. Rain don't stop falling because you tired of being wet. Life don't stop testing you because you mad about the test. But if you can learn how to dance in the rain, if you can learn how to move with joy and faith even in the middle of the storm, you'll come out stronger, wiser, and better than you were before. That's the difference between people who win and people who lose. Winners accept that storms are part of the process. They don't waste energy crying about the weather. They grab their rain boots, they grab their umbrella, and they keep on moving. They don't let the storm stop them from reaching their destination. Matter of fact, they learn how to find beauty in it. They say, all right, I'm soaked, but at least I'm alive. At least I'm still moving. At least I still got purpose. That mindset is what separates the weak from the strong. See, crying about the storm don't change nothing. All it does is make you miserable while it's happening. But when you decide to dance in the rain, you shift your perspective. You stop focusing on the fact that it's raining, and you start focusing on what you can still do in spite of it. You might not be able to stop the storm, but you can choose your attitude inside it, and your attitude determines your altitude, how high you rise when it's all over. I've been through storms in my life. Some of them were financial, some of them were personal, some of them were spiritual. And I'll be real with you. At first I cried. I sat there whining, asking God why he let it happen. But the storm didn't stop just because I was crying. The rain didn't let up just because I was complaining. The only thing that shifted the storm for me was when I shifted myself. When I decided, okay, if it's raining, I'm still gonna move. If it's storming, I'm still gonna grind. If it's dark, I'm still gonna shine. That's when things started changing. Storms don't last forever. Yeah. No matter how heavy the rain, no matter how loud the thunder, no matter how strong the wind, it will pass. The question is, who are you gonna be when it does? Are you going to be the one who sat there and drowned in your tears, or are you going to be the one who danced your way through it and came out stronger? The storm ain't designed to destroy you. It's designed to develop you. It's designed to teach you endurance, patience, and faith. But you'll only learn the lesson if you stop whining long enough to live through it. When you dance in the rain, you send a message to yourself, to life, to everybody watching that you can't be broken. You might be bent, but you won't break. You might be tested, but you won't quit. You might be hurt, but you won't stop. That spirit is what life rewards. That resilience is what God blesses. Because anybody can smile when the sun is shining. Anybody can have faith when everything's going right. But can you smile when you're soaked to the bone? Can you have faith when the thunder's roaring? Can you dance when the lightning's flashing? That's where the real growth is. I promise you this, if you stop crying about the storm and start dancing in it, you'll start noticing something. The rain that you thought was sent to drown you is actually watering your seeds. The storm that you thought came to destroy you is actually preparing the ground for your blessing. The wind that you thought was pushing you back is actually pushing you forward. But you won't see any of that if you're too busy whining about how wet you are. So the next time life throws you in a storm, don't break down, break out. Throw your hands up, find your rhythm, and dance right there in the rain. Because storms don't stop winners. Winners learn how to move in them. And when the clouds finally clear, you'll be standing tall, smiling, and ready for the sunshine because you didn't let the storm break you. You let it build you.